We're Not Really Here tonight sees Manchester City try to defend their FA Cup crown that they won almost 15 months ago in that 6-0 win against Watford. A place in the final awaits, and we will face either Chelsea or Manchester United on August the 1st. Now, some might say Wembley almost feels like a second home for us, being Manchester City. Etihad South, I believe, is the name. Joining me to get into tonight's game is Michael Brown and Paul Dickov. How are we, gents?
Yeah, great. Looking forward to the game.
Michael?
All good. Fantastic. Should be a good one.
Should be a good one, and an absolute treat we have in store, because not only do we have Michael and Paul in the studio, down in London, we're going to be joined by Kyle Walker and Shaun Wright-Phillips, and I believe we can hear from them now.
Yes, Kel, me and Shaun have arrived here at Wembley, and I'll tell you this, in London it is definitely T-shirt weather. We'll be with you throughout the evening, bringing you our reactions and analysis from the FA Cup semi-final, plus the starting 11, half-time, post-game, everything is going to be happening here at Wembley. Shaun, Arsenal coming into this with good form, but so are Manchester City. We're in for a good game.
Yeah, most definitely. It's going to be a thrilling contest, but I'm just hoping we come out on top.
Hopefully we do. Now, it's a bit weird being at Wembley with no fans. We're used to being here all the time, Manchester City. It's the Etihad South, as some people call it, but it's going to have a strange atmosphere tonight.
Yeah, I think it'll have a strange atmosphere, but I don't think it'll bother any of the teams considering the situation.
Now, it is the FA Cup. It's the cup where it creates some magic moments. And, yes, the form in the Premier League has been good from both teams, but anything can happen here tonight.
That's what happens in the FA Cup. There's always things that go wrong and things that go right.
Well, hopefully it goes right this evening tonight. Kel, enjoy the studio. It's probably cold in Manchester. Here it's nice and warm, but we'll be back very soon. All right, mate. See you later.
We will indeed very soon. Cal, thank you for the reminder. As always, always nicer down in London on the weather front, isn't it? It's always the way.
It is. I think little Shaun Wright-Phillips was standing in a hole there. Look at the size of him between him and Kyle.
And Michael, I mean, I don't know about you, but slightly strange seeing those shots of Wembley. You know, of course, they've done really well, I think, with getting our flags there in our half, but very eerie to see.
It's very strange, because that's the vocal point, isn't it? When you come out the tube or when you pull up in your car, and that's something special as a youngster when I was there, and you go with your parents or all your friends, and it's just so great to have that Wembley way, and that you start to realise the two flags are generally up, and it's just such a shame seeing it like that, but we're getting used to it, and now it's just got to be all about the game, all about the performance.
And before we get into tonight's team, I mean, some of the best atmospheres I've felt at a City game have been here at the Etihad, but also at those Wembley games, the semi-final and the final. I know Shaun said it won't affect the players, but they will still notice that it'll feel odd, given that they've had, 8 games under Pep Guardiola's era there, all with screaming Manchester City fans.
Yeah, they will do. No, it's the whole preparation as well. Players are creatures of habits, Brown, ain't they? And obviously they've been there that many times over the last few years. And the little thing for leaving from the hotel to get to the stadium and seeing, as Brownie said there, Wembley way being full, City fans everywhere, and then when you're walking out the tunnel as well, it must be eerie for them, but it's something that they've got to get used to. They have done already, obviously, here at the Etihad and other games that they've played. But one thing we know about these players is that they're so focused, and it's not affected them that much so far, so I don't expect it to affect them tonight.
It's like the second home, isn't it, Kel? Literally 10 times they've been there. They stay at the Hilton just opposite. The staff can walk over. The team get a coach all the way around, actually, instead of walking over. So won the last 9 there, 6 trophies. It's a special place. Manchester City have been there so many times, they're comfortable with it.
Well, let's hopefully we add to the fond memory bank we've got of games at Wembley. The team news is in, and some big announcements of the team sees Garcia partner up with Laporte at centre-back. We have Raheem and Kevin De Bruyne returning to the side, of course, after their goals at Newcastle. And Jesus is up front. Gents, we're going to get into that discussion, but we can hear what Kyle and Shaun made of the full team very, very shortly. What do you make, or first of all, I think of the Garcia partner in Laporte? For me, I was kind of edging that Fernandinho might have gone into that kind of role, given his wealth of experience, but a lot of trust there.
Well, there's a lot of trust, and you look at that back four of Walker, Garcia, Emerick Laporte and Mendy. When they come out of COVID or the lockdown against Arsenal, that was his back four that he chose, and actually it's the same team. as they played against
Right.
Arsenal when they come out. So that's an interesting stat that Pep Guardiola has gone with that when he has so much choice. So actually, it's another big opportunity for Garcia. I think he's really got to step in with a front foot now, have that faith and confidence that he's been shown, and really take it on. And what a wonderful partnership. That balance is good with Laporte.
Yeah, I think he has done. Since he's come into the team, when we were here a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about him, and the one thing that's impressed me, I don't know about you, Brown, is his maturity, fit for a young boy. He's very vocal when he's out in the pitch, and you think he's got England's right back, or Kyle Walker, one side of him. He's got Laporte the other side. He's got Ederson behind him. So as much as he's getting looked after by these senior players, he's telling them. He's marshalling that back line very well, and he's so composed. Reads the game very well, and obviously he's played more often than not since lockdown. So Pep's obviously having a look at that position alongside Laporte for the future.
I mean, in that position, he has been so strong, and I think, like you say, for his age, it's been a joy to watch him kind of settle into that defence. Should there be a slight little bit of concern, because he came on at right back against Bournemouth, which I know obviously isn't his position, but he didn't look as composed in that performance and didn't have that maturity that we've been so used to seeing. Do you think that's a slight reason to worry, given up you're coming up against Aubameyang?
I wouldn't just say about Eric Garcia. There was times in the Bournemouth game the other night where everybody was backed against the walls a little bit, and you've got to give Bournemouth credit for that. We weren't at our best second half, and I think Eric coming on into that against a pacey forward line, playing out a position at right back, which is different, altogether for him. But I don't think that should be a concern, especially for young Eric.
Michael, you mentioned it there, of course, that's the same team that played against Arsenal just after the restart, of course, got the victory. For a team that we've been seeing so used to rotating, 5 or 6 changes every game, what do you think the thinking is in keeping it the same and not kind of springing a surprise on us, and also Arteta?
We obviously see something, I would imagine, in that team for one. He also looks at the opposition to see where he thinks he can hurt them. So he feels like they've got enough balance, enough pace down in wide areas. That for me, and Riyad Mahrez and Sterling. But whether Arsenal go with a back three, so they've changed their system now since they've come out against Manchester City in a 4-2-3-1. They've gone with a 3-4-3, and they've started to have success. Yes, they lost against Spurs, but they had a wonderful result in the week against Liverpool. So it's always these mind games, and Mikel Arteta knows better than anybody, as we know. So he believes that's a really strong side, and I think that's a good choice.
Well, we can now hear from Shaun Wright-Phillips and Kyle Walker to see what they made of the starting team sheet when it got announced.
Right, we've made it inside. We're here so close to the pitch. Obviously, there's no fans, so it means access all areas, nearly. We're not allowed over here onto pitch side. But, yes, there's no fans, but as you can see in the background, it is still decorated, so it's going to feel like it isn't completely empty. Shaun, we are playing against Arsenal. We know that they're chasing European football. We know what they've managed to do over the current Premier League champions Liverpool recently as well. I'm a little bit worried about their front two, because Lacazette, Aubameyang, we know how good they can be.
Yeah, I think any team would be, but you got to also remember about Saka. He's been playing really, really well as well. So there's another thing we have to worry about, but I'm hoping that's not the case today.
Hopefully they'll be on top form Manchester City. Now, if we're looking at this Arsenal team, we're looking at recent form, does that go all out the window in the Premier League because this is the FA Cup?
I wouldn't say it so much goes all out the window, but it's anybody's game today, and it's the team that puts on the best performance, I think, that will come out with the win. And for me, if City keep playing the way they have with the momentum, they will be perfectly fine.
There we have it. What's going to happen, we don't know. We're in, it's getting closer to kick-off. I'm hoping the teams are going to come out and start warming up very, very soon. We want to see them. We want to see who's possibly starting, but I will be back later on with that starting 11 because, well, we get to know it first, Kel. See you in a bit.
Thanks to Kyle and Shaun there. We'll be going back to them in a little bit in the show. But talking of that Arsenal team, of course, it is master versus apprentice. Arteta has kind of given us this new look Arsenal side, a very different proposition to the one we faced after the restart. Is there cause for concern from those front three that they were talking about there, Paul?
Yeah, I think if you look at the Arsenal front three, it's just full of pace, there's goals in it, and there's experience, and especially Aubameyang and Lacazette, they can hurt any defence that they can. It's the same old problem for me with Arsenal. that goes back years, that never really have to worry about them going forward. It's at the back, and as much as we can worry about Arsenal's front three and the creative players they've got, you look at our team going forward, with Kevin back in, Gabriel Jesus back scoring goals again and looking really sharp, and obviously Raheem one side, Riyad on the other side. So I would think that Mikel will probably be a bit more worried than what Pep will be. But as I said, the experience and the goals in the Arsenal front three speaks for itself.
Speaking of Arteta, there was an interview that Pep gave ahead of tonight's game, of course, speaking about his former assistant manager and saying that he believes that he's going to bring Arsenal that wow factor back and could be the one to put them back into top four contention. What have you been most impressed about when looking at Arteta since he's overtaken Arsenal, Michael?
I think he's been extremely brave. I think the hand he had regards to certain players, squad rotations, had to sort a few things out. He had to be patient, and just as he was getting that, we had a lockdown situation. We've talked about what sort of recruitment that he can get in. He's managed to rest players in the week: Bellerin, Mustafi, Aubameyang, Ceballos, and they still beat Liverpool. So that'd be a real boost for them. Now he's put them all back in with that 3-4-3 formation, as I've just mentioned. So he's learning. He's trying to find out what's the best sort of solution for his team, because he wants to play. And he's come out and said, Pep Guardiola, he understands him. Pep's been there 4 years, and that's Pep's choice where he goes, what he does. So he's still looking about Manchester City. I still think he follows the mould. He's following in the footsteps of Pep Guardiola, and he's trying to improve his team. He needs some signings. He needs a bit of time.
He does, but the thing that's impressed me the most is the attitude of the team, more than anything else. Arsenal over the past couple of years have had that soft underbelly, if you like. But he's got them working hard. You can tell Pep's influence and how they're trying to press high up the pitch. He's brought a lot of youth in, which brings you enthusiasm and brings you work rate. And he's shown already. I know Mikel fairly well, and his press conferences over the last couple of weeks have made me laugh every time he's getting asked about Ozil, Guendouzi, all these big players for a young manager. He's also shown, the other players have shown the Arsenal fans, that he's not going to put up with anybody not giving them 100%, and I think that's pretty clear, especially with Ozil. The big name, big money, but he's setting his stall.
He's got to do that though, Paul, hasn't he? He's got to go and set as a manager, as a young manager as well. It's a team in Arsenal, which he's got a bit of time because he's a legend there as well. So I think it's a real punchy from him. It's hard, isn't it, to take that on?
I mean, you both had experience, of course, in that managerial role. How difficult is it to come into a team and to assert your dominance? And of course, we're talking about Arteta. He's not coming in and doing it to maybe a few leagues down. He's doing it to an Arsenal team and to some big seasoned pros. How difficult is it to have that inner confidence in yourself and really assert yourself?
Yeah, well, he's sending a message out to everybody that he won't put up with it. He spoke the other day there about not knowing what sort of transfer budget he's going to have in the summer, which for me makes it even more impressive. I'm leaving out the likes of Ozil and Guendouzi and that, because he might need them there next season, because he might not have the money to go out and get other players to do it. So as a young manager going in at any club at any level, it's difficult, Brownie, because especially when it's your first full job, because you're dealing with big characters, especially with Mikel, he's dealing with big names as well, but he's made a cracking start to it.
I wanted to pick up on the formation change you've picked up on, Michael. Why do you think Arteta has done that, and what has it done differently to the Arsenal team we faced after the restart?
It's always finding the balance for the players, and what didn't help them came to Manchester City and with the back four, and straight away he's had injuries, as we've seen in the game. That didn't help him, and then you're always trying to find what that formation is. He's fell upon it, he's tried a few things, and ultimately they've got results. So once you get those results as a manager, and Chris Wilder actually was struggling when he went to Sheffield United in League One, and he decided he didn't want to play a back three, and we've seen how well that's done for him. Because just sometimes it clicks the personnel. All of a sudden you get confidence through the football club. You know what Arsenal have been like for some time. Confidence won't have been there, and I think now those results obviously took Spurs quite late in the game. It's still got through beating Sheffield United, and that result against Liverpool, and they know a Wembley appearance against the City side, they'll feel like, well, let's go for it now, where before they'd have been thinking, oh no, we're in a little bit of trouble here, confidence will be low. I think they'll really have a lot more belief.
Well, and if it goes with a back three, I don't think it'll be a back three as such. I think it'll be more of a back five, because Mikel knows better than anybody else how Manchester City like to use their width, and especially with Riyad one side, Raheem on the other side, staying as wide as they possibly can to cause problems, but when they come inside, obviously both full-backs going, so having the three centre-halves and the two wing-backs, I can see it being more of a back five at times than anything else, just to try and inhibit Manchester City going forward.
You could see that, couldn't you? Bellerin and Maitland-Niles being drawn right back in to make that a back five at times, and that's what Manchester City are good at. They want to move you around, they want to find those holes, and like I said, in the wide areas, Sterling, Riyad Mahrez, with that pace, will we see something different now from Gabriel Jesus? So when he knows now that Arsenal have found a formula, Pep will have a different way of playing, a different option. That's why he's the best.
And that movement that you talk about, is that probably why then we've leaned to have those three midfielders? Of course, they played the last time out, but with De Bruyne, David and Gundogan, there's no Rodri or Fernandinho who, more anchor kind of behind those. So do you think he has kind of gone for the more ball-playing midfielders for that reason?
Because he want to dominate in there.
Right.
And I think, especially with Gundogan sitting in front of the back four, he might not always hit that 40-50 yard pass, but the one thing he does do, and he keeps things going, he keeps things ticking over. He retains the ball so well. He plays in between the lines, for Kevin and David to go in there. And Arsenal, as much as they'll have the back five, you can see the two of the front three dropping back and being more of a 4-5-1. So the area and the space will be in the middle of the park, and obviously when you've got Gundogan, you've got Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva to make the best of that.
Well, let's hear now the brains behind tonight's team. Of course, Pep Guardiola. Here is what he had to say ahead of tonight's semi-final clash against Arsenal.
Pep, it's not the big atmosphere you'd expect at Wembley tonight, but it's still a grand competition, one you're proud of. You're proud of its traditions, and you're defending your trophy as well.
Yeah, the FA Cup is, you know better than me, how nice, how beautiful is this competition for the tradition, for the cup, for itself. And yeah, unfortunately without people, but anyway, so we are here.
You've made 5 changes tonight. I mean, is it an advantage in this sort of crazy season that you can actually prioritise this semi-final, this FA Cup tie? It hasn't always been the case.
Well, one eye was here, definitely. After winning the first two games after lockdown against Arsenal and Burnley, it take some gap for the 5th. Yeah, we prioritize, but at the end we try to play every game like, to try to win.
You've played Arsenal since the restart and you beat them well. Is this a different Arsenal side you're expecting this evening?
Yeah, I don't know the system we're going to play today, but the setup, they changed after 1 or 2 games with 5 in the back, and they were more solid, more consistent. They conceded few chances. The quality up front in the middle is always there. They had a tough calendar, and in general, all the games were tied. So what I'm impressed the most, the fact is they are a good team spirit. I seen everybody follow the manager. Everybody's commit what they do, and you see it. So the result was really good.
Best of luck tonight.
Thank you.
He looks at home, doesn't he, there, Pep, when he stood on the pitch at Wembley? He feels comfortable, like, yeah, I know this place. Of course, it's been very kind to Pep in his tenure as Manchester City manager. Just picking back up off what we were talking there before about that formation change. You notice, Michael, that he actually hasn't got a sitting midfielder that Arsenal are so used to having.
Well, it's just like you mentioned it as well, is Manchester City having Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne and David Silva. There's a front three there with real pace and power, and Lacazette, Aubameyang, Pepe, that could really put you under pressure. And I was just speaking to Paul about it there. Would they lean onto Garcia? Will they try and test him out? But it's a team there with Arsenal, and that's a discussion, like I said, Paul's going to come in a minute and mention that regarding how will they play. I thought they might try and keep possession, Arsenal, so at that point, you would think Manchester City would need another runner, another defensive player, but you thought they might have to.
I just think them going with the back three and not having the whole midfielder in there and just having Xhaka and Ceballos, I can see them going a little bit longer today.
Interesting.
Especially with Aubameyang, Lacazette and Pepe, the pace that they've got. We know City like to keep a high line. I think Mikel, as much as we're waxing lyrical about Eric Garcia, I think they'll look to get Aubameyang and Lacazette in and around them to test them pace-wise and behind. So as much as we're used to seeing Arsenal playing out for the back and passing the ball and playing between the lines, I think they'll go a little bit more direct tonight.
That is a concern for me, just as a fan listening, because if they were to go with kind of the way that you think they're going to play, Michael, I feel that plays a little bit more into City's hands, whereas the goals that we've conceded this season, and we touched upon it in the Bournemouth game, and we saw it in the Bournemouth game, we saw it against Spurs, against United when we played them, that more direct route seems to be our Achilles heel. So Do you think, obviously Pep will have thought of that, but is that going to be more of a worry then for us if they do go with that approach, Paul?
It's the only worry I've got tonight is because obviously we know Mendy likes to bomb forward, Kyle Walker likes to bomb forward. It's the pace of whatever one of the front three that's going to look to get in the channels that they've left behind. But Pep being Pep, he'll always say if we dominate the ball, they can't have it to do it. And I think they've Gundogan, David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne, and the one thing we're going to do is dominate the game tonight.
Just looking in shot, he's a player, isn't he? Aubameyang can cause real problems, and you would say that when the fullbacks of Mendy, Kyle Walker going right up the pitch, that's generally when you have that pivot, that holding midfield player. So does he think, well, okay, I'll play Gundogan so we can control the middle a little bit more, and Kyle Walker and Mendy might have to actually just back up a little bit at early periods. I've heard last year towards the end of the title race, it was all about not being counter-attacked. He was obsessed with not paying a killer pass, a square ball where they got caught out. So, fascinating times. But this is what's brilliant, coming up against a different system, a different action, and so you can put on paper an alternative to every system for a manager. He'll give you an answer, and there's no right and wrong. Brilliant.
I just think, however Arsenal go about it tonight, I look at the back three, the back five of Arsenal, and they're there for the taking, especially the players we've got in the team.
I wanted to just go back as well, sorry, because I'm so interested with this kind of direct route, which has seemed to be a bit of our Achilles heel. Like you say, the one line of defence we have is if we have the ball, they can't do it to us. But what is the other way to counteract it? Because as well, we've not got the fastest defence apart from Kyle Walker. Mendy sometimes has shown pace, but Laporte and Garcia aren't the fastest. So is there a way as a defence then that you can try and counter that direct route, Michael?
Well, it's about the team. So it starts from the front three. Mahrez, Jesus, Sterling, going really high, press on, try and drive Arsenal back five rather than a back three, which gives them an out in wide areas, which then draws your fullbacks out, creates space. So it's all about those little 5-10 yard spaces. And that's where Pep Guardiola is amazing on the training ground. He already sets the distances. They will allow one person to have the ball. They'll see a weakness. They'll line it up to go one side, and the traps are set all around the pitch. It's fascinating when they really get it right, and it's again everybody at that point. It's about a trigger. So, for instance, if Sterling goes tight on one angle, can the midfielder come in onto his player, and then the back four can step up that little bit more as it all happens in tandem.
I think going back to the two centre halves, what you're saying, if they're going to go forward, they've just got to be a little bit clever about it. And, with Lacazette, with Aubameyang, mark them space side, but give yourself a little bit of time. You can't get too tight with them, especially if you're keeping a high line in and around the halfway line. So you've got to read the game properly. You've got to expect the ball going in there and be ready for it and give yourself that extra half a yard.
Well, we know with Manchester City they pay very close attention to all the details. Hopefully they will have thought about that. I'm sure they will have. We, of course, last time played Bournemouth and it was 2-1 here at the Etihad. We'll get into that here in the studio in just a second. But first, let's hear what Kyle and Shaun have to say, who are down at Wembley for tonight's game against Arsenal.
Yes, Kel, now we are coming into this. Obviously, Manchester City have secured that second spot with guaranteed Champions League for next season. But we've still got a lot to play for. We're here, it's the FA Cup, we've also got the Champions League as well. Shaun Wright-Phillips is next to me. We're here at Wembley. Shaun, Manchester City's previous performances, especially against Bournemouth, not the best of the season, but Pep rested some of those players in preparation for today.
I wouldn't necessarily say it wasn't their best. Teams don't always play well, but the good teams get the results, and I think through the season Liverpool showed that this year. So City did exactly what they needed to. Okay, it was tight at some times, but we won the game, and now we're coming into this game with more positivity as well.
Definitely. Looking ahead to the rest of the season, there's still so much to play for. We've still got the FA Cup. We'll see what happens this evening. But the Champions League is another huge competition, and Manchester City want to win 3 trophies potentially this season, don't they?
Most definitely. Who wouldn't? And they're in a perfect position to do that. And if they're playing the way they are, I don't see why they won't.
People will say that this Manchester City team, when they're firing on all cylinders, when they've got their strongest 11 out there, plus the players they've got on the bench as well, they are one of the best teams in Europe.
Yeah, and I think they showed that at the Bernabeu with that away performance that they put in, that they're here to stay and people need to watch out.
Right, it's getting closer and closer. I cannot wait for this one. Kel, back to you in the studio. When you're back next time, well, hopefully we'll have the players on the pitch. Hopefully you'll be able to see as we get closer to kick-off.
Look forward to that, Kyle. I hope so indeed. The nerves have been present since last night for me, but they are just coming more and more to the forefront. I'm talking there about the Bournemouth game, which resulted in 2-1, but it was a very nervy watch, and actually was a game that we weren't used to watching since the restart. I don't think we've kind of looked as nervy or been pushed like that since we've come back for football, Michael.
Well, you've got to look and say Bournemouth are actually fighting for their lives. They're going to try and put as much as it possibly can. When you go ahead 2 goals, you think you're there, you think it's a little bit comfortable, and all of a sudden Bournemouth thought we have to go for it. So it didn't matter, they go full out all the way, like you would expect. It's an experienced Premiership side now. They've been in for many, many years, and they've found themselves in a real situation, and they've got good players. It's been really, really, really tough for them, but it was a good reaction. Manchester City still got the result. 72% possession, so it was a game really, yes, there was pressure on, but they still got the points.
And Bournemouth had nothing to lose, especially going 2-0 down. You know, as Brownie said there, that they're fighting for their lives. They've got a top manager who's probably get into them a little bit once they went 2-0 down. And as I said, second half and towards the end of it, you know, they really pushed on, but you wouldn't have expected anything less from a team that's fighting for their lives.
No, and actually, was there something in Paul, you know, as much as it made for quite nervy watching, because it did feel like that they could have had 2 or 3 there towards the end, but actually, given that we've been so assured, given that we've been so dominant in our performances, it was actually a good test for them to go through a nervy 20 minutes just with the big games coming up like Arsenal and Madrid.
Absolutely, and you know, that's what I was just going to say, you know, it keeps everybody on their toes. It lets them know it's not going to be that easy every single game. There was changes made again, but the players came in. Would have wanted to have shown Pep that they want to be in the team, as we spoke about before, not just for the semi-final tonight, but for the Real Madrid game and hopefully beyond. So sometimes it's a little kick up the backside that you need, you know, if you get a little bit complacent when teams are pushing onto you. But at the same time, you know, as much as Bournemouth could have, they didn't.
Paul, do you think that's like, do you know, when you're winning, you're under pressure late on, and in these cup competitions that are coming up, for instance, when there's going to be pressure, going to be tight games, it's about that winning mentality, isn't it? Do you know, like, do everything you can to see the game out professionally.
And it would have been quite easy for the players, and it sounds a bit stupid, to not have that desire to do it, you know, because it was the Premier League game.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody knew Liverpool's won the league, so sometimes a little bit of complacency can kick in. But to have the desire to make sure that you go out there, and look, you can't win every game 5 and 6-0 as we have been doing and playing wonderful football. Sometimes you're not at your best. It's about grinding out the result, and that's what all the best teams do.
When you were playing, of course it has to come from yourself first and foremost, absolutely, but then would there also be a couple players in the changing room to keep you true? Because I think that's one thing that's been talked about, is that the fans can keep you true in these games. You know, if that had been at the Etihad, you would have had 60,000 people on City's back to say, keep strong, don't let it lapse. So without that factor, does it then turn to these leaders within the team?
Well, it's a good point. I think if you were asking 2 players who gave their all, it would be myself and Paul, who would be quite vocal, quite challenging, quite aggressive on the pitch, and some players just didn't do that. They just actually play the football, enjoy it, get on the ball when it comes. But then you have to think, which players can affect the game when the game's poor, when it's good, slow it down, turn them round, bring a person next to you, bring the back four up, or whatever that may be, is having some characters to control the game. And I think that's what Manchester City needed. You instilled, and some senior players will get you through that.
But there's different types of leaders. You know, everybody thinks to be a leader or to be a captain, you've got to go out there and shout and ball. You know, you can lead by example, by pressing. You might not be the most vocal, but you can go and press the ball from the front. You can encourage your teammates. You can go and make a tackle that everybody else then gets in on the back of it. So there's so many different ways about leading from example, you know, and I think we've been so lucky that we've always had Vincent Kompany there, who everybody's seen as the man mountain. But Vincent will tell you himself, the players he had around him had different leadership qualities that probably he didn't have as well.
Feels like as well, just as a fan, throughout all the City teams that I've watched, we've always been lucky to have 2 or 3 of those people, whether they do it vocally, whether they do it with the football, they've always been present in the team to drive us through. And one man who has done that for 10 years, and you guessed it, it's my favourite part of the show, is our captain, David Silva. Might not be the most vocal, but definitely lets his football do the talking. Michael, just another exquisite performance from him against Bournemouth. I mean, it's like he's rolling back the years.
Well, he knows, and I think Pep said he's been exceptional exceptional since I've come back, and for him to get another goal and sheer quality finish with his left foot, and you know, it's really difficult technique that to get that over the wall with the instep, and you could see how delighted his teammates were, his players, get a smile on his face, because you're not often, we're not going to see it much more, and it's such a shame. But you talk about David Silva, and we talk about characters running, shouting. What he will do late on in games when it's very difficult, he'll just take that little touch, that little bit of composure, keep the ball under pressure. So it's all styles of players, but this just shows you the true class that he's got and the wonder he's got of a left foot.
It's the desire he's got as well, you know, because he's in his 30s now. He knows he's coming to an end. There's a few games left at the end of the season. Since lockdown, he's been like a man possessed. You know, it's as if he's getting better and better and better. And you know, a lot of individuals at that stage of their career would take their foot off the gas. He's pressing it down even further now.
It was Jolene who mentioned it to me. It was off when we were watching the game, but saying, actually, I mean, you'll know as well, any form of break as a player is everything, because it does give you that chance to refresh. But when you are maybe a little bit older, like David is, those 3-4 months will have just kind of done in absolute wonders, and it will have been the longest time he's had a football probably since his career began. Yeah,
but you know, I think Pep said in his press conference the other day there that he's the condition that he's in. As it physically is one of the best that he's seen. So he's obviously used that time in lockdown to not just maintain his fitness but push on a little bit more. And I just think it's great to see somebody coming to the end of the career putting in the performances that he's putting in.
Don't go, David. Well, you don't. He doesn't have to go. You know, he could stay for a couple more years and we can cheer you on. We'll fill the stadium back up. It's just a proposition. The club will sort it out. I've got it on good authority. I've not. I'm wishing here. But let's move on to that second goal. And Paul, it came from a man that you've been talking about a lot and really championing, and rightly so, because his form has been brilliant. Gabriel Jesus.
It has, and look, every time he's needed to step into the team, whether Sergio was there or not, he produces. And great touch inside, great feet, and that's just clinical finish, you know. And he's playing with a lot of confidence at the minute. But you know, I keep saying it, and I know I went in a bit of a rant the other week there, but he gets some unjust stick from me from outside the club in other quarters. But it doesn't start every game. It doesn't play in every game, and that's his 21st goal of the season. You know, and his quality, we all know about him pressing for the front. I think his hold-up play since lockdown has been exceptional, as in bringing everybody else into the team, and he's topping that off with all the goals that he's scoring. And I think he's going to go from strength to strength after this. Maybe the lockdown was good for him as well.
Yes.
I know Sergio's out injured. He's benefiting from having that run in the team, and he's looking as if he's going to score in every single game.
You look at that the run for me. So he knows as I think it was David Silva gets on the half turn, he pulls on the shoulder. The time's really good, really quick. But then as he goes into the box, it's his touch. The touch inside is sublime. Then he has a little look, have that balance to go upright and to curl it in the far post. And you see where the still there stops. It was a brilliant finish, but it was all about the touch and the run.
As soon as he picked up that ball, he knew what he was going to do.
Right before he made the move,
as soon as he's made the run, the ball's come in, he's saying, I'm taking this touch, I'm beating him, and I'm putting in there. And that's what confidence does for you. But Brownie's talking about his movement there. If you watch him, and look, I'm a bit of an egg sometimes being an ex-centre forward. I tend to watch centre forwards throughout games now rather than watching the whole game. He's always on the move.
Yeah.
He's always looking for space. He's always asking the centre-half questions. Even when the other team's attacking, you watch him, he's going into little spaces, he's asking questions. As soon as the centre-half comes in, he's spinning in behind. You know, he's so intelligent in the runs he makes for a centre-forward, and a lot of it's unselfish runs as well, so his teammate can get in there. Do
you know what's so funny? I was literally just at my granddad's for a brew before I came to the game, and we were speaking about Jesus, and that was the thing we were talking about. His engine, I don't think, gets spoken about enough, because he doesn't stop running. And there was even a point in the Bournemouth game where he'd covered, I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but covered them in defence, took the ball, won the ball, and then was up at the other end within the space of 2 minutes. I mean, the biggest thing that I've learned through doing this show, and I love Jesus, is actually that if I've really taken out that comparison with Aguero, because he's not Aguero. And I think because we've wanted that centre forward, it's like Jesus is that replacement. He could be, but he's not the poacher and he's not the finisher that Aguero is, but he does so many other things, Michael.
He occupies, doesn't he? He's totally different. When they're under possession, when out of possession, he will do everything he can to put that pressure on. And no more than tonight, the front three there, Sterling, great energy. Riyad Mahrez, great energy. and then Jesus. So that front three will be able to press, they'll be able to run on shoulders and cover a lot of ground. And it's so important because when Pep Guardiola first came, I feel like the team was a little bit down on energy levels. He's put that up. And I think even Sergio Aguero has got better at it. He's got himself in a better shape or a better understanding when the time is right to put a few more yards in, but he is different. We're talking about the master of finishing, so it's hard to be compared, isn't it?
It is, and look, Sergio's the best, isn't he?
Absolutely.
You know, his record speaks for it, but I think it's important for if you're having a replacement for somebody or having somebody that's going to be in the bench to come on to possibly play as a two, they have to be different anyway. You know, they both offer different qualities. We all know Sergio scores all sorts of goals from all sorts of angles, whether it's left foot, right foot, with his head. But what Gabby brings you is that bit of energy, you know, especially when Pep wants to press teams. And I think before Sergio got his injured, I think Gabby had started maybe more games away from home than what Sergio did.
Yes, yeah.
So that maybe tells you that Gabby pressing from the front, especially away from home, and his work rate and his energy, that's what Pep sees him doing.
Puts us on the front foot when we need it. We're going to hear from Gabriel Jesus and Kyle Walker in just a second, but I just wanted to pick up on a point I read in an interview with Jesus, and he said for all the plaudits, there was one man who we didn't mention on this show was Pep Guardiola, because it was his change of moving him out to the left just before that goal that had literally happened moments before. He'd had Jesus central for the whole game. He'd got some instructions from Pep to move left, and then within 2 minutes you see the goal. As a player, to have someone like that on the sideline who can just give you that gem which unlocks, you know, the game, it must be everything. And I don't know how you see that as well.
I've said this a few times before because I was fascinated. It was a member of staff actually said to me a couple of years ago that Pep Guardiola set the training session up, set what they were going to do.
Yeah.
He said, well, when we do that, they will do this. And then we will do this. And it actually happened on several occasions. And the bench just started looking at each other going, unbelievable. They started laughing, saying the amount of detail and how he breaks it down. And you know, it's remarkable. It's took football to a whole new level. It must have been funny at the points, and the lads would be all laughing and just thinking, oh, he's done it again.
What I love about it is the players hang off his every single word. You know, and when you've got a squad of 25 world-class players, there comes sometimes big egos within that as well, who think that they've played and won top competitions for club and country, and you can maybe not take everything on board that the manager's telling you because you think you know it all, but you speak to the players and they're like sponges, they can't get enough of it. And you know, I've been fortunate enough for a few years now to go away pre-season and watch Pep, what he does with them in training, and the attention to detail that he's got, but the attention to detail he's got from the players, as in listening to them, is something that's very special. You know, you can put the best sessions on in the world, you can be the best coach in the world, but if you can't get the players to actually go out there and do it, which might sound a little bit stupid from people watching and listening in tonight, but that's the most difficult thing to do.
And I was going to say as well, and what he's asking them to do, and this is just from kind of listening to you guys and when you read, is that he's asking him to do almost the hardest training sessions that are set in the Premier League. The amount of running, the constant drilling, the repetitive nature of his training sessions. I think sometimes even the calmest and almost, you know, most humble players will be like, flipping out, been doing these drills for 3 hours now, but no one seems to complain on that team and just keep doing it, and that I think says everything about him, doesn't it?
I think you'd look at that and you'd say about the intensity, and I'd look and say, well, it's about having that composure and awareness and concentration all the time when taking the ball, when running into a particular space for your teammate, being available. You know, this is something different all of the time. That's a concentration level that you have to train, you have to understand how far they go in this particular scenario. That is the difference in detail, other than just intensity, running, desire, which we've seen before.
Yeah.
We've now got a tactical understanding around the pitch, which we've never seen, and that's broken down, you know, in many, many different segments, in different games, in different sort of.
It's broken down into
areas.
segments, but it's how you put that together as a team.
Yeah,
because I don't think it's any secret that he likes to work with 3 or 4 players at a time in different positions on the pitch and certain areas of the pitch. But to bring that all together is a joy to watch, you know. And when I've been here at the Etihad, which is quite a lot, watching the games, and you're sitting up high, you can see the patterns of play that they've worked on. You can see where the players are going. You can see why they're making the movements.
Yeah, and you've mentioned it as well, Paul, is that they all have that sixth sense of they know what's going to happen with the ball before anyone else on that pitch because it's been drilled into them. And then I think that's what makes us an even more frightening kind of opposition, is because we're already 2 steps ahead before we've stepped on the pitch. Well, let's hear now from who we were just talking about, Gabriel Jesus, and here he's talking with Kyle Walker.
I think, you know, both the FA Cup and the Champions League is massive. This is something for me that's also a massive competition in the English game. So for us to go and do this again back to back would be fantastic, and kind of round off if we can go and get the Champions League as well. Obviously it's a fantastic season, but this would round and dampen the pain of the Premier League, definitely.
Of course, if you see the last games against Arsenal, we won a lot, but the reality is different. The next game always is the most difficult. Everything can happen, so we have to focus and prepare to this game.
When we went and did what we did for the last 2 seasons, I don't really think that we got the praise that we deserved. To do that year in, year out for 50 plus games and basically nearly win every one of them and reach, God knows, what was it, 3 finals in 1 year. It's a lot of games, and that's not just by 11 of us competing week in, week out. That's 18 to 20 of us all playing a part and parcel in the season to finish what we did last year, and especially this year as well. Bar the Premier League, we've already won the Carabao Cup and we're in another semi-final of the FA Cup.
An unprecedented domestic double.
Of course it's going to be a little bit different because the fans give the atmosphere when you've got all the blue shirts behind you or in front of you and you're attacking or defending behind them. It gives you that extra motivation knowing that they've made the travels in the thousands from Manchester down to London to support you. But again, it's still a special moment. It's the last English game of the year before you go into the new season. So for it to keep that right, I think it's definitely important, and it's definitely a massive game for us if we come to that final at the end of the season.
But this City side capable of the seemingly impossible.
Always when I play, I try to score. I hope I can play and score again.
Gabriel Jesus, so do we, my friend. That was Kyle and Jesus there giving us their thoughts ahead of tonight's game. And picking up on a point that Kyle mentioned, and I know that we are slightly biased here, but I do think there is something in which he said in that they don't get enough credit, I think, this team, for the domestic trophies that they've won on such a consecutive basis. I mean, even the League Cup, we've not been beaten in that competition now for 3 years. Like, that as a stat is mind-blowing. This is coming up to nearly 2 years in the FA Cup we haven't been beaten.
That's full respect for the players, the football club, who, we've seen teams to go and try and win leagues or win other situations, not fielding a correct side. And Manchester City on every tournament have put everything into it. And we've seen that by the rewards, the trophies, and as you just said, Pep Guardiola stood at Wembley thinking like, this is normal, that's his home. But this is what we're saying. Yeah. It's so comfortable for Manchester City because they've been there that many times, and that's a full desire for the whole football club, led by Pep and the players, to keep delivering trophies, and long may it continue, because supporters, you want to be those days, you want to be at Wembley, but at times it does take it out of you that you're not getting the rest you need to go on, and really this should be a lot more credit. I agree with
a lot more credit, and not just as I'm winning the cups, winning the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, but winning the Premier League at the same time as well. which makes it even more special. You know, and this isn't a dig at Mendy. You know, teams that usually win the Premier League, their focus is just to win that Premier League, and sometimes, and I'm not saying it's disrespectful, but if that's their goal and that's their aim, they don't show the FA Cup, they don't show the Carabao Cup the respect it deserves. So to win, especially last season, to win all 4 domestic, including the Community Shields, with a Premier League in there, the season before, with a Premier League in there, and this year going forward, you know, it's possible the Premier League's not there, but the Carabao Cup, great chance of the FA Cup and Champions League as well. So I am slightly biased, as I think we all are, but I still don't think we get the credit we deserve.
No, and you've mentioned there, but even when you look at, you know, what's happened this season, it did require Liverpool to give their absolute everything to their Premier League, and they weren't able to compete on the other domestic trophy front. Do you think actually part of it as well is that we almost fall victims to our success, that it happens, obviously not easy, but it just seems to be happening 3 years in a row, that people kind of dismiss it and go, oh, you've done it again, kind of thing. And actually they don't stop and think, no, they've just gone 3 years undefeated in a competition. Do you know what I mean? It's just kind of the way you look at it, from which perspective.
I think you've got to take it as a compliment. I think you've done that well as a team. You're expected now, Manchester City have gone to new heights and new level, and you're expected to win every single game. And it's not just by the outside world, it's in the football club, it's the owners, it's led by Pep Guardiola. He demands a win, a success, a desire every single day, and you've got to set that out. It is sport. We understand at times it's a wonderful game. You can't always win, which makes it a little bit more interesting. You want to win every game, but it's just been. This is what I'm saying. It's slightly forgotten how well this football club has done of late. It's been remarkable.
I think it's the desire of the players as well. To go out there and wanting to win these trophies, to get success, not just for the club but from themselves. And I know, Brownie, you know Kyle Walker really well. A couple of seasons ago, I'd done the launch of the Premier League, and Kyle was there, and it was just after he had the long summer with England, and I think he only had about a week off from training. And I said to him, did you not want to, I was leading up to the Community Shield, I said, did you not want to have a little bit longer? And he said, Paul, he said, look, before I came here, he said, I hadn't won anything. He says, now I want to win as much as I can, and it's that mentality that runs through the team. You know, a lot of players would have took an extra 2, 3, 4 weeks off.
He had extra time off.
Yeah.
He had extra time off, and straight away he said, you know what, I need to get back, and he had the option. Pep
for the
said,
Community
do you want
Shield,
to play
he
for
wanted to win it.
Well, and I think there, if you look at that trophy, the Community Shield, that even I remember growing up, and before we were in contention for anything, it was a bit of a forgotten trophy.
That's
the
when you were
Community
playing.
Shield. But actually, the way that we approach it is that is just important as all the other trophies. And actually, we've kind of flipped it to make it the trophy that it is now, whereas other clubs just forgot about that before.
It's about respecting them all, winning everything. Yeah. It's the mentality. I don't think, this is what I'm trying to say, the football club now is at a whole different level. And it's led right the way through. We have to win every day, every training session, and it must take some mentality, Paul, mustn't it, to be one of those players in that dressing room, to realise that is what expected. And there's no day off.
No, there isn't, but that's what separates the best.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? That is, and we're lucky enough to see it for the last 8-10 years here, being a Manchester City fan. Okay, we are talking about the FA Cup, though. We're here for the semi-final against Arsenal. If you've just tuned into We're Not Really Here, just under 15 minutes to kick off. But we are absolutely delighted and really privileged to say that within our company tonight, we have lots of FA Cup memories. We'll get to them here in the studio, but first, let's hear what Kyle and Shaun had to say when speaking about this glorious competition.
Now let's talk all about the competition that has brought us here today. Yes, the FA Cup. Shaun, you must have lots of different memories of the FA Cup. Let's run through some of these. Now, your first FA Cup game was against Newcastle at St James's Park. Nobby Solano scored the only goal. Richard Dunn got himself sent off. That must feel like a lifetime ago.
You're making me sound old now. No, yeah, of course, it's definitely a while back, but had some great memories in the FA Cup, of course, winning Dunny getting sent off is, sorry Dunny, one of them. And obviously losing to Newcastle was a down point at the time, but that's what happens in the FA Cup. You never know with the results.
Now, there's a lot more highs in the FA Cup for you. You won the competition with Chelsea in 2007. That must have been an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it was. It was a bit of a strange game because when I was playing, Mourinho said at the start that I'd have to play a different sort of way today, obviously because Ronaldo was playing and he wanted us to double up on him. So I did more defending than attacking, but the team won, so we clearly did our job well down there.
You against Ronaldo, obviously you came out on top.
He's taller than me, but I'm quicker than him.
That's it. Let's talk about other semi-finals that you played in against Manchester United. Here, for Manchester City, you didn't quite make the squad for the final, but just being here against United, it's got to be an incredible feeling.
Being here now, representing City, it feels exactly the same. To see the club come from where it came from to where it is now and achieve what they're achieving is just fantastic.
And your final cup game for Queen's Park Rangers was against West Brom. You won a third-round replay. This competition is giving you so many amazing memories. It's just a brilliant competition, the FA Cup, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say team's favourite, but I think that's why everybody gets up for it. Everyone always puts their strongest side out, and everybody wants to win it no matter what the cost, really.
And that is what these players will want today. They know how important this competition is. They know they've already got the League Cup, which they won back at the beginning of the year here. They want to do it on the biggest stage, and Wembley is that stage.
Yeah, it's the home of our country. England play here, so if we can win trophies here and keep winning them here, like you said, it's like our second home over the last 3 years, so let's keep them coming back.
Let's keep them coming back, yes. I like that confidence there, Shaun. We're getting closer, Kel. I know I keep on saying this. We're getting closer to kick off. We're nearly here. I hope you guys are enjoying the studio. I know it's probably cold. It's still T-shirt weather. You can see we're still enjoying ourselves in the sunshine, and we'll see you a little bit later on as we get closer and closer to kick off.
Yeah. All right, Kyle, that's the third time you've mentioned it. I was really hoping them sprinklers were just going to turn over just at that last moment and go, stop mentioning the weather. But we're all good here in the studio and, of course, sporting the new Manchester City top.
Kyle, he's supporting it as well, isn't he? Hasn't he had it on for every day of the week this
since
week?
it's launched.
Has it?
Yeah,
has he got several ones, or has he washed them every day?
He's been sleeping in it as well.
Yeah, it's lovely, though. What do you think? I love the new shirt, to be honest.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I've just got the boys it. I've just been over to the club shop and got it, so, yeah.
There we go.
They'll be excited.
Treat yourselves to it at home. Now, it's quite funny here because when we were talking about FA Cup memories, it seems that the production team, again, Paul, you pointed out, only ever wanted to focus on the negatives with you and left out a big game that you both played massive parts in, of course, 1999.
Yeah, that huge FA Cup tie at Darlington away in the Friday night, Brownie. It was raining, it was freezing, we went 1-0 down, and I think I scored one of the best goals, as in technically I've ever scored, and obviously the guys here behind the scenes can't even find it anywhere.
No.
So I think they're going to run the goals. I think it was that long ago though. They're in black and white, and I managed to score in the home leg. A goal like I don't often score, running around a few and tapping it in, so it was quite nice.
So that fixture then, of course, so you scored, it was right towards the end to get the equaliser.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, it was a beautiful goal. I think it is on your Twitter, Paul, but it kind of comes, it's a looping ball and then catching it on the
volley.
line.
Yeah, they didn't score many like that.
But running onto it though as well, it wasn't a stood still. You had to kind of find the right position.
Go on, Cal, keep picking it up. I'm enjoying this.
Listen, I can always respect an absolute beauty, and that is one. And then the next fixture came. It was Darlington, and you scored for us there as well, Michael.
I did. I managed to get the ball. It was a really tight game, which was a game you would expect us to win, obviously, and we were struggling actually. We weren't playing well. I just got the ball, and I think I ended going down where I can't get out of it. I had to do one skill, another, and then I was in the middle of it, nowhere to go, and I managed to get through a couple. It sounds like it was really good, this, didn't it? I think it was like that.
Not got the video, so we can keep talking.
We'll find it. We'll get it on. We'll get it on for you.
The goals are actually better than what we're explaining.
They are. We'll get it out. They're in my ear now.
Well, it's a special tournament, isn't it? The FA Cup.
I was going to ask you that because you played obviously in the FA Cup and in these. Is there something about when these cup games come about? There's just, I don't know. Is it that unexplainable thing, something different in the air? Is it like that?
There is, and even obviously being Scottish and getting brought up in Scotland, that FA Cup final day was always something special from when you were a kid. You know, you used to get up very early in the morning, watch the show all the way through, and it was very, very special. And obviously, going down to Arsenal as a kid, the FA Cup was something that was very, very high in priority for Arsenal at the time, you know, with the history of it, the tradition of it. And I was involved in the 93 squad for Arsenal that won it. I didn't make the bench, but was part of the squad. So at a young age, it's when you go to Wembley, and Michael will tell you the same thing, for the very, very first time, it grips hold of you. You know, whether it be the old Wembley or the new Wembley, because of what it means to be there, and being a footballer and what it means from a very, very, very young age.
And are you more nervous, Michael, when, like you say, does it when it comes with that gravitas? Are you just that little bit kind of more? I really want to do well in this.
I just love the FA Cup, as you said. Went as a kid growing up, and my first one, I think, was away at Manchester United. And we lost 2-1, and that was it. Then it was gripped, and I managed to get into a final, play Spurs, and an unbelievable semi-final for Portsmouth.
Wow.
I think I played Spurs v Manchester City with a great comeback for City to win 4-3 with 10 men.
I remember that.
Sheffield United semi-final from a championship team, and myself and my dad doing a promo with a trophy. It's just been a real special day. I can mention so many about the FA Cup because I've had an amazing journey with
And the great thing is as well, anyone you speak to, any football fan, says the exact same thing. Well, we're hoping that we're going to add another final to our long list of finals and hopefully be lifting the trophy at the end of it. But to do that, we have to get past Arsenal tonight. We're going to get predictions from our guests here in the studio, but gents, I'll give you a couple of minutes to think it through. Let's hear what Kyle and Shaun thought with their predictions.
Right, we've seen the starting 11. We know what this team can do, especially here at Wembley. It is now time for predictions. Shaun, what are you going for?
I'm going for 2-1 Man City.
2-1. See, I'm confident. I know what they can do. They look great in the new kit, like myself. So I'm going to say 3-0 Manchester City. It's going to be a good game. I'm expecting lots and lots of goals. We'll be back at half-time to give you our reaction and analysis right here from Wembley. So we'll see you then.
Look forward to that, Carl. Thank you very much. So 3-0 from Carl, 2-1 from Shaun Wright-Phillips. Gents, I'm going to give you a little bit more time, but first, let's get a fan prediction for tonight's game.
My name is Fadli, and I live in Jakarta, Indonesia. I support Manchester City since 2012 because Oasis, my favorite band, also support Manchester City. The favorite players right now that I really like the most is Sergio Aguero, and my pastime player that I really like the most also Paul Dickov. Why? Because Paul Dickov is quite friendly when he came to Jakarta a year ago. The most dangerous players against Manchester City, I guess Paul Pogba from Manchester United. And my favorite game to watch when Manchester City win a single goal against Manchester City by a goal from Vincent Kompany. I hope that Manchester City will win the Champions League for the first time this year and also beat the Arsenal, I guess by 2-0, and also go through to the final of FA Cup 2020. I guess enough for me. Thank you. Keep support Manchester City. Bye-bye.
Fadli, thank you so much. Great shirt collection, and of course, the quite nice.
Biggest compliment I've had, I think. It's quite nice. I'll take that all day long.
So, of course, the prediction there was 2-0. Paul, what are you thinking the result will be tonight?
I'm going to go 3-1.
Why have you just done that? Why have you gone and done that? Because what do I do now?
You can take 3-1.
Do I copy him, or do I have to?
I mean, if
just be your own man, mate.
Yeah,
come on.
That 3-1 is what I was going
that's strong.
for,
And
so,
then hopefully we'll have called it right in the studio, and Kyle and Shaun will have got it wrong. But we're winners either way. That's the main thing.
As long as we win, get to that final. That's the main thing.
That is indeed. Right, we're going to be back at half-time after the first 45 minutes of the game at Wembley. We'll also be back at full-time, so please do come and join us. Thank you for tuning in. Go and grab yourself a drink, go and get your food, and get ready to enjoy the FA Cup semi-final. Manchester City take on Arsenal at Wembley. Come on, City.